The rain fell in unrelenting sheets, turning the gravel path into a river of mud. Inside the Franklin County Animal Shelter, the scent of wet fur and antiseptic filled the air. Dogs barked, howled, and yipped, each one pleading for attention, for a chance. All except one. In the back corner, behind scratched glass and rusted metal bars, a golden retriever lay curled into a tight ball. His coat was dull, eyes sunken, ribs faintly showing beneath patchy fur. Family after family walked by. Some glanced. Some hesitated. But they all kept moving. No one ever stopped for him. Not until today. Miles Carter stood in the shelter's lobby, raindrops dripping from his old armor green jacket. His boots tracked in water, but he didn't notice. He hadn't meant to come here. He rarely came into town at all anymore. Once, he had been a man of action, staff sergeant in the U.S. Army, Unit 17, stationed overseas for years. But now, he was just a man who existed. His wife, Jenna, and their 8-year-old daughter, Ellie, had died in a car crash while he was deployed. He had returned not to a hero's welcome, but to a house filled with silence. 2 years had passed since that awful day, and in all that time, Miles had barely spoken more than a few words to anyone. He lived alone, in a cabin tucked between whispering pine trees, haunted by voices from the past. He didn't come to town for company. Just supplies. And yet, today he'd turned into the animal shelter's parking lot without knowing why. A young volunteer approached him. "Can I help you find a dog?" she asked. Miles hesitated. "Just looking," he muttered. His voice, hoarse from disuse, startled even him. She guided him through the rows. Dogs of all breeds wagged tails, bounced on hind legs, yipped eagerly. But none of them stirred anything in him. None, until he reached the last kennel. The dog in the corner didn't move. Didn't bark. Didn't even lift its head. "He's been here the longest," the volunteer said quietly. "Won't play. Barely eats. He's been returned 4 times. Why?" "Families say he's unresponsive. Like he doesn't care. Some think he's been abused. Others think he's just broken." Miles stepped closer. The dog's eyes, dull and hollow, lifted to meet his. And for a brief moment, just a flicker, Miles felt something stir inside him. Recognition. Pain. Kinship. Then the light caught something under the dog's matted fur. A tag. Worn. Dirty. Barely hanging on. Miles crouched, ignoring the cold concrete beneath him. Gently, slowly, he reached through the bars and turned the tag around. The front was scratched, but he could make out the inscription. "If I seem distant, it's because I've seen too much. Please, be patient." He felt a cold chill crawl down his spine. He flipped it over. PTSD service dog. Lost during active duty, Unit 17. The world stopped. Unit 17. His unit. His throat tightened. It couldn't be. The dog looked up, eyes blinking slowly, as if searching. Memories crashed over Miles. Dusty fields, sirens, broken cries in the night. A firefight that left half his squad pinned down for days. A mission gone wrong. A helicopter crash. And through it all, a golden retriever had been there. A trained PTSD service dog, brought in for the squad's mental wellness. Everyone loved him. They called him Shadow because he always stayed close. Always watching. Until one day, a blast. Screams. Confusion. Smoke. And Shadow, gone. Everyone had assumed he'd died. But here he was. Miles stood abruptly. "I want him." The volunteer looked shocked. "Are you sure? He doesn't." "I know this dog," Miles said firmly. His voice was steadier now. "He's not broken. He's lost. Like me." That night, the ride home was silent. The dog sat beside him in the truck, motionless but calm. At the cabin, Miles opened the door and waited. The dog hesitated only a moment before stepping inside. He sniffed the air, walked slowly across the wooden floor. Then, without warning, he stopped in front of the fireplace and lay down. The very spot where Miles once sat with his daughter. That night, neither of them slept much. But for the first time in years, Miles didn't feel alone. And when he woke up, the dog was curled at his feet, like he'd never left. Weeks passed. Miles named him Vela, a tribute to the men they'd both lost. Vela never barked. He didn't need to. His presence was enough. He followed Miles on long, silent hikes. He rested beside him at the lake. And on nights when the nightmares came, Vela placed his head on Miles's chest and waited until he breathed steady again. Together, they healed, not in words, but in moments. Eventually, Miles returned to the shelter. Vela by his side, healthy and proud. He handed the same volunteer a sealed envelope. Inside, a note. Thank you for keeping him alive long enough to find me again. He wasn't lost. He was waiting for the one man who understood him. And I was waiting for the one soul who wouldn't ask questions, just stay. Today, at the shelter's front desk, that old, scratched dog tag hangs in a glass frame. A reminder that sometimes, the ones the world calls broken are the ones carrying the deepest strength. And that loyalty never dies. It just waits, in silence, until it's found again.